Good afternoon and welcome everyone to our Mahjong Live talk on sport coaching and physical education. My name's Kari. I am one of the student recruitment team here at Mahjong. My job on this call today, or on this talk today, is just to basically look after everything, and I'll also be looking after the question and answer box. So please do have a look for that box. It's a question mark in a blue box on a white box. And please drop any questions you may have in there. We also have with us Ryan, who is a current master's student in sport rehab here today. He's a very experienced student and has been with us for his undergraduate as well, so he can talk a lot about kind of student life. And we've also got Liam, who is a current second year student on the course. I'm going to hand over now to Calvin, who is the programme lead for this course, and he will tell you more about himself as well as the course. So any questions you do have, pop them in as we go through and we'll answer them afterwards. Thank you, Calvin.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Carrie's quite rightly said, my name is Calvin Kirk. Welcome to Mahjong, or more accurately, welcome to my home office for now. But under normal circumstances, the picture you can now see on your screen is our fabulous campus on a lovely sunny day, and hopefully by September we'll all be back there again. So as I said, my name is Calvin Kirk and I am the programme lead for the BA Hons Sports Coaching and Physical Education. Again, as Carrie's also said, if you have any questions, please ping them over to me and I will get back to you. Also, I will give you my contact details further down this presentation, and if you have any questions, because it's not uncommon for you to get 10 minutes after the presentation think, oh, I wish I'd asked. It is my email, and I will generally get back to you. I will try to get back to you within 24 hours with any questions you might have about the course or anything else, in fact. So the aim of the Sport Coaching and Physical Education programme is to develop our students' base knowledge and critical understanding of these following areas. So we look at coach education, sport coaching, the teaching of physical education, and we also touch on a little bit of sport development, as that underpins a lot of what we do. We hope to impact on those areas of physical education, coaching, and the sport development, as they are now major priorities for many of our national governing bodies. That is, those bodies that oversee many of the sports that we play and partake in, and the employers that you're likely to be employed with. As it says at the bottom there, we are a single honours 3-year full-time course. However, there is the option to do part-time study as well now. Part-time study generally is looked upon as being half the amount per year. So it will in fact take still 6 years to do. But you do half the amount of modules per year, and could work quite well if you have a relatively full-time job going as well. So our entry tariff, 96 points, and if you're looking for us on UCAS to make your application, we are SCP1. With regards to employability, 1 year after graduation, generally for Mahjongs, we tend to get a little bit higher than this, but for Mahjongs as a whole, we have 88% of our alumni are in further study, sustained employment, or both. Alumni being our past students, which is the highest in the Southwest, and we're joint second in England. And I thought I'd pop that little picture in there for you to have a look at, because that's one of our past students who seems to have ticked every one of those boxes. That's Sonny, who left us to go off to he got himself a fabulous job in rugby coaching, based around, would you believe, rugby analysis. He then decided to go into PE teacher training, and has now just informed us that a few years down the line, he is now just embarking on his master's degree at Loughborough University. So he really has done quite well since leaving us. We also feel we should inform you, if any of you that are listening or watching today are from the Plymouth area, you may have seen some of our billboards around the region, as we're quite proud of the fact that we are ranked #1 in England for our teaching quality. We are a small university. We do focus quite a lot on our teaching, and hence it does come as a surprise to be ranked as high, but we've managed it 2 years running, so we'll proudly put up our ranking for you to see. There are a number of other things that we've done well, but the #1 for teaching quality is the one that we are particularly proud of. So what you'll study within your 3 years. As an outline, year one, we tried to develop a basic understanding of the kind of key topics that underpin what your subject is about, and also give you opportunities to apply these in a real life context. So for example, at the end of year one, under normal circumstances, and hopefully next year we'll be back to normal, at the end of year one, we will take you out into local primary schools and give you a chance to practice all the theory that we've been working on throughout the year in real primary schools. Then into year two, we continue to develop that knowledge and understanding, but start to challenge the learners to be a little bit more reflective. So to try to take on a little bit more of a proactive nature to the learning. And then when we go into year three, we try to promote that individual learning even more through specialised application. So by year three, it is hoped that you would have a bit more of an understanding about what it is you want to do, perhaps for the rest of your life, although that seems quite a big thing to think about when you're only 18 years old. With that in mind, I'm going to, in the next few slides, go over a few of the modules that we cover, or all of the modules that we cover throughout those 3 years. Okay, so it's called certificate level. So in year one, we cover 6 modules per year. You may know that already, but if you don't, we cover 6 modules a year. And in year one, we look to start off in the first semester with becoming a sports coach or PE teacher, which just gives a bit of an underpinning of what that job is about. It is not uncommon, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of you listening today are in this bracket, and that is you start at university knowing you think you want to be a PE teacher, or you think you want to be a coach, but you're not quite sure. And it's absolutely fine to be not quite sure. I think I was in my 20s before I started to become a little bit more sure about what it was I wanted to do and be. So it's quite fine to not be sure. One of the things that we will hope to do for you is throughout your time here, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, we will help you to have some opportunities to try to find out what it is you do enjoy doing in more detail, that hopefully by the time you get to year 3 and then beyond, you have started to fine-tune that idea into something real. So in year 1, like I say, we'll start off with the first 4 weeks of your time with us. We do this one module, becoming a sports coach or PE teacher, where we start to look at some of the skills that you might need to help you through the rest of your degree. Then you can see there from the other 5 modules, there's a nice little blend of coaching, teaching, how that works. The fundamental movement skills starts to look at what it is you look for and analyze when you're being a teacher or a coach. And we even look at a little bit of biomechanics. So there's the underpinning sports science in there, which then brings us on to the next one down, which is the sports science principles. So there is that sports science there, but please don't start worrying. This is not a sports science degree. It is at a rather fundamental level that we look at science. So the science that underpins coaching and teaching practice. We also have a module towards the end of year 1 where we start to get you to think a little bit wider than just Plymouth or Devon or Cornwall or even, England. We study a little bit of sport from around the world. And then we also have those foundations of sport development, which I alluded to in, I think it was the previous slide, that we do look at sport development as something that underpins those areas of coaching and teaching. We then go on to what we call the diploma year, which is year 2. And in this year, again, we choose the 6 modules for you with those areas of either coaching or teaching. We think we know what's best for you at this stage. And you get to do what could be argued to be the single most important module that you might do. And that is your work-based learning, your placement. And it's where we will try to help encourage you to set up a placement to help you really to start to discover what it is you really want to do. And the most common ones that we find are primary teaching, secondary PE teaching, sport coaching in a sport of your choice, or perhaps even sports coaching analysis. Now, you may find you get to, funny enough, about this time at the end of your year 1, when we're getting you to think about your placement, and you may get to this point and still not be sure. And that is, again, absolutely fine, because what you can do is what's called a split placement. If you're still not sure, if you think, I think it's PE teaching, but it could also be primary teaching now, because it's not uncommon for our students to get to about this stage and think, "Do you know what, I quite like working with those younger age groups." And you can therefore do a split placement where you'll do 50 hours perhaps in a secondary school, 50 hours in a primary school. A common question here is, do you have to find your own placements? The answer to that is, well, yes and no. Is we encourage you to find your own placement, because then it's something that you would want to do. But if you do have trouble, so say you've come down from London, you don't have contacts in this area, then we will help you. We have a good network of both schools and coaching placements that we can point you in the direction of and give you contact for. So we will help you get that placement set up. But as I said, it is not uncommon for that to turn out to be perhaps the most enjoyable but also profitable module that you're likely to do even in your whole degree, because the contacts that you will make, especially in this region, are ones that can carry you on beyond your degree and quite often result in some employment either during the rest of your degree and even beyond your degree course. Then again, as you can see, we touch on those areas of coaching and teaching. So we've got that coaching theory and practice, and quite often we try to get our students from year one to try not to see coaching and teaching as two separate entities. There is more crossover between coaching and teaching than there has been perhaps ever before. So when we look at coaching theory and practice, the theory and practice you learn within that is easily applied to the teaching and the PE teaching environment. The research methods module, whilst not the most exciting module, is a really important module for helping you to elevate your practice to degree level, to helping you to research areas of sport and physical education that you might be interested in, that will help take you into year 3 and a double module study in something called a dissertation. You can also see there that we do modules in learning theory and the learner, sport and education, so linking the two together, and we also have a module in inclusion in sport. Now, one of the things that we do through all of the modules, in fact, I'm trying to think of a module where we don't do any, but I can't think of any, and that is we try to make it as applied as possible. And by that, I mean, we don't just do theory for theory's sake. We take the theory and we put it into practice. And we will quite often have more practical environments than we do theory environments for some of our modules. A common question is, what is the split? And the split is different depending on the module. So for example, research methods may have a lot less practical than perhaps coaching theory and practice, where the vast majority of that module will be in a practical environment, putting into practice the theory you will have learned. Then we go on to year 3, which is known as your honours level. And you'll see here there's that honours project dissertation. That counts for 2 modules. It spans the whole of the year. And we try to encourage you to do something in an area that you really are passionate about. We then have one of my modules, Coaching Children in Sport, where we will cover some theoretical underpinning of the science behind how children develop. But then we will then bus in a whole school year for 4 weeks in a row for you to then practice on, to try to put into practice that theory that we have covered. We will then cover a bit of graduate employability in sports, something that's very, very important. Obviously, you're not just doing a degree for degree's sake. You're doing a degree to try to give you the best possible chance of employability in the area that you want. So therefore, we do a module in year 3 that tries to help you with that journey. And then we also have the pedagogy and practice module. Pedagogy is just a fancy word for the science of teaching. And that is one where, rather than bringing school children into you, we will take you out into schools where you will actually teach lessons in a real secondary school with real children who don't always do what they're supposed to be doing. But it's a fantastic way of putting into practice everything you've learned so far. Then, as it says on the screen, you have one additional module option, which is selected from either performance coaching, if coaching is the area that you might be going into, leadership and management in sport and PE, if you find that is now the thing that you find most interesting, and sport and excellence. What I tend to do around about this time, and I know I have one of my current students acting as an ambassador for me, and he is just about to get an email from me, probably today or tomorrow, which will explain exactly what is going to be in each of those 3 modules to help better inform them and help them make an informed choice ready for their final year. And this is the bit where you get to start to fine tune what it is you want to do. So by this time, we do hope that you've started to decide what you're going to do next year. So therefore, if it's coaching, you may choose performance coaching. If it's teaching, you may choose the leadership and management. And it may be sport and excellence. The content might be something that appeals to you more than the other two. But you start to make some module choices here. So as I said I think it was the second slide, the entry tariff we have is 96 points. For A-levels, that's a CCC for 2020. Some of you who are watching and listening today may be thinking of coming as of this September. And by the way, we've just heard today that we are hoping to have, it may not be business as usual, but we certainly will be on campus for much of what we do. But this is also the tariff points for a 2021 entry, where we're certain things will be completely back to normal. BTEC, that's an MMM or DD for 2020, 2021, or 2021 again, or equivalent qualifications. It's not uncommon, by the way, for people to contact me to say, I've got this qualification or that qualification. How does that, tally up? If that is the case, feel free again to contact me and we can work out what your qualifications are equivalent to. Some of the employment that you might be looking to go into with our degree, some of them are fairly obvious. So physical education teaching, obviously, maybe going into something like school sport. It's not uncommon for our students to leave us temporarily to go on and do a little bit of school sport, perhaps as a graduate assistant, and then come back to us for a PGCE. You may want to go down the sport leadership and management route. There's quite a lot of our students, will come back to us to do postgraduate studies. This program particularly gears you up ready to do a PGCE, whether that be a primary or a secondary PE one. The numbers we have on PGCE are quite limited by the government, and we generally find that at least half of the students on our PGCE route come through our own programs, and most of them come from this actual program. We also find that we gear our students up ready for employment in coach education and obviously sport coaching and this growing area of sports analysis. You can't help but have noticed that more and more analysis is becoming central to a lot of what we do. The latest goal line technology, some of the latest technology that we've seen in football this year, and I say that with a bit of a smirk, but that is obviously going to be one of those areas that is not going to go away and offers up fantastic employment opportunities for people on courses just like this. Some other sample graduate career routes, and these are all people that we have had through our degree, from performance coaches, as I've already said. You can see their academy managers, performance analysis, all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner. We can see we've even had, and this is true, our own Commonwealth gold medalist from our course. So it definitely opens up a wide variety of career routes. It's not uncommon, like I say, on day one, I'll normally stand there on induction when I see all my students and say, put your hand up if you want to be a PE teacher, put your hand up if you want to do this, that. And most of the people in the room seem to choose the same one or two things. And yet by the time we get to the end of year 3, they go off onto this myriad of different types of careers that are out there. And when you first join us, you probably don't know everything that is available out there, especially in this world of sport, teaching and coaching. And what we hope to do over the course of the 3 years is give you those opportunities to see what is actually out there in that big, wide, real world. Other things you'll do while you're with us, although I've just heard this morning that may be postponed for the first couple of months of this coming academic year, but it almost certainly will be within this year, and that is BUCS Sport, which is British Universities and Colleges Sport. And we encourage our students to take part in this. For a small university, we punch well above our weight, and we do particularly well, probably because we've got such a lot of sports-related courses here. But what we encourage you to do is take part in BUCS Sport, which is where we try as best we can to have no lectures whatsoever on a Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, our students are encouraged to go off around the country and represent Mahjong. It's a fantastic thing to do. I still remember doing it myself as a student, and it is a really great thing to embrace. The downside for us as lecturers is whether our students win or lose. It seems to be if they win, they must celebrate, and if they lose, they must commiserate. But either way, it makes Thursday mornings a little bit of a jaded affair. But we still encourage our students to embrace that whole sporting and social side of university life. We also have, as you can see, that bottom right-hand corner, that's a picture of our gym. For our university of our size, we do have particularly good sports facilities. And as soon as our university opens again, I encourage you all to come up, have a look around. I do think you'll be impressed. So my final words then are, please stay in touch with us. Here are some of the contacts. So that is our generic contacts. So either by Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, please keep in touch with us. Please keep in touch with everything that's going on with Marjon at the moment, because it's still exciting times. And there is my own personal address. So if you have anything after this talk that didn't come up in the questions or you think of later, please feel free to contact me or even our admissions office. And with that in mind, I'm now going to pass back to Carrie, who hopefully will have some questions for me, or maybe I've answered all those questions. If you don't have questions, please feel free to engage with some of our other live talks that are happening today on all of the following things on the screen. And I now pass you back to Carrie.
Brilliant, thanks Calvin. I do have a couple of questions that have come through privately, and really the first one, Liam, if you're all right to unmute yourself.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you about what kind of has been the best thing about the course for yourself. You're second year now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I came into Marjon not knowing exactly what I wanted to do in the first year, and particularly this year I've been able to make my mind up through the placement module. So as Kelvin said earlier, I did a 50-50 split with a primary school and a secondary school. So first half of the year I went into Glen Park Primary, which is local to Marjon, and I helped out lead some of their PE sessions and after school clubs. It was really enjoyable. However, I still didn't think primary school PE was 100% for me. So I went to Egg Buckland with help from the Futures team at Marjon, and they've been brilliant for me. So I'm from Oxfordshire, and I obviously don't know many local secondary schools, I haven't got many contacts. However, after emailing Futures, they were able to help me find the secondary school placement, and I was able to go in there only for a couple of days because of the pandemic, but it has helped me figure out what I want to do in the future, and that's, I think, one of the highlights of the course for me.
Brilliant, perfect. So that email that Calvin's sending out to you later, you know pretty much where you're going with it then?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Brilliant. Calvin, I'm just going to pop you back on the screen for a second. We've just had a question come through. Have you ever had anyone who has been interested in coaching Taekwondo as kind of one of the sports that they're really interested in?
I'm trying to think whether we've got someone now who does Taekwondo. It is not, like I say, whilst it's not the most common sport, it is not uncommon for us to have people who've got martial arts as their first sport, or even other what would be considered minority sports as their main sport. Now, whilst the ability for us to put Taekwondo into the course itself is obviously going to be limited for obvious reasons, it is not uncommon for somebody to come to us with Taekwondo as their first sport. And also through the university sport, they would be encouraged, especially if they're a high-level competitor, they would be encouraged to compete for the university on those Wednesdays in Taekwondo.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm going to go to Ryan for the next question. All right, Ryan. Would you be able to tell us a little bit? I know you're kind of not on the course, but you have stayed on at Marjon after you finished your undergraduate. Would you be able to let us know kind of what about Marjon makes you want to be there?
I think the big one when originally looking for a university, so back before my first year, was the sort of unexplainable feel of the campus. It's not really something that you can tell unless you actually go to university, but I think when the university opens up again, you have the chance to go and see stuff. I think it's quite a close-knit community, because as Kelvin said, we are like a really small university, but it's sort of as you're walking through the campus, everyone sort of knows each other and everyone says hello and everyone smiles at each other. It's not really like you're just a face or just a number. You are actually like a personality within like quite small community, and I think that's probably the main reason. Whereas going to perhaps some bigger open days and you had to get buses from one campus to the other, it sort of maybe overwhelmed me compared to what we have at Marjon, really, I'd say.
Brilliant, thank you. And Calvin, I'm going to come back to you. Would you be able to let us know what the different types of assessment are? So are there lots of exams? Is it all coursework? How does that work?
Sure, that's a good question, because things are changing literally as we speak. And again, I'll probably get Liam rolling his eyes saying typical now that we've come into, going into our final year. But one of the things that has been fed back to us is the unpopularity of old-fashioned exams. And it's not uncommon around the sector for us to realise that exams are not the best way of assessing somebody's genuine depth of knowledge. It's more a memory test than a real depth of knowledge tester. So we're being encouraged now to remove all existing modules, to remove all old-fashioned exams. That's not to say that you won't find yourself in a classroom doing a little test of some kind, but the good old format of everybody in a big sports hall doing exams, it looks like they're going to be gone. So the most common forms of assessment now are obviously as essays, portfolios, presentations feature quite highly, because actually having you, speaking in the employment that you're likely to be going into, you're going to need to be able to stand up and deliver in front of a group anyway. So that's quite a good test of your ability levels in this, in this subject area. So presentations feature quite high, and obviously practicals feature quite high as well. So your ability to teach and coach will in fact be assessed across all 3 years. Those are probably the four most common ones. If there's any I've forgotten, I'm sure Liam could.
Well, I was just going to, with the practical element of it, we've been mic'd up, and so we'll lead a session and then we'll look back on the video as well. So we've been videoed and mic'd up, and we'll look back at that and then we'll analyse. So one of the modules, I think we did something on coaching behaviours, and we were tallying up how many times we would use those coaching behaviours. And then obviously we'd be able to evaluate whether we've used one more than other, and then see whether there are any benefits for using them. So I thought that was quite a good assessment, actually. I enjoyed that one.
And for anybody wondering, mic top just means that they actually have a small microphone, not to call a mic, or to their ear, where we can then hear everything that you might be saying, no matter how far away from the camera they are. But using video as an analysis tool is an increasing part of what we do, and we find it to be a really, really good analysis tool that we are using at the moment.
Brilliant. I've had a question come in, and I'm not sure if any of us will know the answer, so if we don't, I can find it out. But do you guys know if we have a women's basketball team at present?
Yes, we do.
We do. Excellent.
Well, actually, no, thinking about it, we've always had women's basketball. Actually, I'm going to go to Liam on this. Well, Liam or Ryan, but probably Liam would know more. We always used to have women's basketball, and I know we have 2 men's basketball teams at the moment, and basketball is quite big. But actually thinking about it, do you know, Liam, whether we actually have a women's basketball team?
I'm not 100% sure whether we've got a women's basketball team. I know basketball's quite big, so it might be worth taking that bit further. I'm not 100% sure, so you'll have to.
I mean, yeah, basketball is one of, is quite a big sport at Marjon because of our links with Plymouth Raiders. So even if we didn't have a basketball team this year, there's nothing to say we won't end up having one next year. You know what it's like if we suddenly get 2 or 3 really good basketball players come in, women basketball players come in. Next thing you know, we'll be in competing again. But I think we have, but I wouldn't say I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, perfect. And I think what we'll do is we'll double check on that. But you are able to set up teams. You just need a certain number of people to get together, say they're interested. You go to the student union as well as to be the sport federation for this one as well, and get that set up. So it's definitely possible to set that up, and it looks great on your CV as well if you can say you've set up a team at Mahjong for basketball, for women's basketball. So it would look really good if there isn't one for you to set it up. I've also got a question, and I think probably Liam, you're the best person to give us a real student view on this.
Yep.
So what's the workload like? How many days a week are you in uni, and are you able to work part-time as well around it?
So yeah, you're definitely able to work part-time around it. There's loads of jobs on campus actually. So you've got the student shop, obviously, Mahjong, the canteen. You can work within the uni as well, and obviously with student ambassador. Like I'm doing today, you're able to give talks, and with student ambassador, you're really able to choose your hours, which is brilliant. It's helped me a lot this year. Extra bit of pocket money really, and with the course load, it is some as long as you keep up to date with it, you'll be fine. If you leave it till last minute, then you're gonna struggle. But yeah, if you keep up to date with it, you'll be absolutely fine. But to be fair, I think this year particularly, we've been in every day, apart from obviously Wednesdays and Fridays where we do placement. So we're in Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays this year. But
and how many hours are you in a day on those days?
It varies really. Lectures are usually 2 hours, and seminars follow up on that, but they can range between an hour and 2 hours. But with the modules, they're spread out across the year. So I'd say maybe 4 hours a day.
Brilliant. And how much extra work do you have to do outside? I'm going to ask you rather than Calvin, because I know there's going to be an academic side that they want you to do. But realistically, how many hours are you putting in to kind of complete your assignments and things like that?
So obviously, after your lectures, you have to do additional reading and keep up to date with all the lessons that have been going on. So, but as long as you keep up to date with it, it's perfect. It's fine. You'll be fine.
Brilliant. And Calvin, the academic answer on this one for us.
I'm probably going to take Liam's answer on it, but I am going to add that we do, and Liam, I hope will attest to this, is from literally day one, we try to remind them that if they keep up with it, it is all quite easily manageable. We'll also keep pestering them to keep up with it, because they do need to be responsible for their own learning, but there is learning to be done outside. And I do agree with Liam that if you leave it to the last minute, you will find it, quite difficult. The other thing that we tend to do, or I tried to do at the beginning, is I tried to get the students to go to engage with the online learning, which tells you where all your assessments are, to map them in a diary or a calendar or whatever, so they can start to plan their own assessment. So they can't then say, oh, we had all of these assessments all come at once, because they don't all come at once. They've got them all to do the course of the whole of the semester. But what they meant was, I've left it till the last minute and now my assessments have all come at once. So Liam is absolutely right. If you're quite organised, and we try to encourage you to be as organised as you can, the work is really quite manageable, and doing part-time work around it is actually quite doable. In fact, it's encouraged, and a lot of our students do part-time work around their university work, but it does require a degree of organisation.
Perfect, thank you. And Ryan, I'm going to come to you for this one. I know it was a few years back for you now, but could you just kind of talk a little bit about how you found that jump from kind of finishing sixth form and then going to university, and kind of from the academic side?
Yeah, I think ironically, actually, I found it easier from the jump between A-level and a degree level than I did GCSE to A-level. And I think that's because, as Kelvin pointed out, that exams are not for everyone, and perhaps not the best indicator of how well you know something. And I think, as a lot of my A-levels were exam-based, that was a bit more challenging for me. So I think it would depend on the sort of learner you are and how you're best suited to assessments, really. I think I'm better with writing as opposed to exams. But yeah, I'd say that everyone says how big the step up, and it is, but I do feel that the lecturers ease you in the first year, and I don't think they overload you. I do think they ease you in, so it's always good. So okay.
Brilliant, perfect. Kelvin, do you have anything you want to ask either Ryan or Liam that you think you want everyone listening to know about?
I think the only thing I've thought about afterwards is, and this probably comes from not being in a classroom, engaging the room and who's all out there. The only thing I would add is the difference between Mahjong and a lot of the larger universities, and I think it comes on the back of something Ryan said, is we can't, we can't be what we're not. We're not a big, massive university, but actually we pride ourselves on the fact that we are a small university where he's absolutely right. We get to know everybody, and Liam will attest to this. We get to know them very, very well, very quickly, and they get to know us very well, very quickly. And I actually think that's a huge positive. If I was choosing and had my time again, I would choose a Mahjong over a bigger university. Yes, big universities have their own advantages, but I would certainly choose a Mahjong over a big university for that personal side of things. As far as questions wise, I think the boys have handled it fantastically.
Bro, thank you. Okay, as we've not had any more questions come through, what I've done is I've popped Kelvin's email address in the Q&A box there. So please do get in touch directly with him if you have any more questions. You'll also probably receive emails from the student recruitment team that will pinpoint you to various different parts of the university if you've got any really specific questions. So please look out for things like that. And as Kelvin said before, there are other live talks happening. There's other kind of sport related talks happening today if you're kind of trying to choose between a couple of different courses, but also there's other kind of courses, other talks happening. And I know Ryan mentioned kind of it's difficult to know until you see the campus, but we have tried to kind of put that through, and we are doing regular guided campus tours as well as talks around life on campus, managing your money at university, the various different sports available at university as well. And then if anyone is really interested in finding out more about how to write a strong application and any support that they may need going through university. So please do engage with those. I'd like to say, and I'm sure everyone will echo this, thank you very much for coming. It's a little bit strange for us to be delivering in this way, as we do like to see people's faces. So poor Kelvin has really been staring at a screen. So please do get in touch if you do have any more questions, and thank you very much.